It's my pleasure to welcome you today. I'm pleased to introduce Shantel. She is the Global VP of Customer Success at Pearson, and she's the author of Promote Your Damn Self. That's what we're going to spend today talking about. Shantel leads Pearson's global CS organization and has a proven track record of building high-performing teams. She is a first-gen college graduate. She is the first Black woman VP in her division and a mentor for underrepresented professionals in leadership. She has unapologetic advocacy. She's in the 1% of LinkedIn presence, and she's a force to be reckoned with. I am so pleased to be here with you today talking about this. So, Shantel has a number of books she'll be signing back at the Five9 Pavilion at 1 p.m., so please make sure you join us. I'm going to take a minute, and I'm going to read you a little bit. Ooh, hold it very close to my mouth. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to read you a little bit from her book. You think your journey is just a bunch of random stuff that happened. Nuh-uh. It's the secret sauce that makes you irresistible in this bland world. Every odd job you've had, every time you fell on your face, got back up, every crazy idea you turned into gold. That's not just your past. That's your power. Sorry about this. Stop trying to fit into something boring box society's got laid out for you. The world's drowning in basic, and you're over here being a tall glass of holy crap. Who is that? Embrace it. So Shantel, let's get started. You've invested a significant amount of time writing Promote Your Damn Self, and then you actually encourage your own team members to use the strategies to grow their careers, even if it means that they might be off to better opportunities. That seems like counterintuitive for a leader. What drove you to write this book, and why do you actively help your team become marketable?
Let me hear you say, hey, beautiful.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey, beautiful. I love looking across this room. You all are the reason I wrote this book. Let me ask this room a question. We're going to make some noise in here. Let me hear you clap one time if you've ever been passed up for an opportunity you deserve. Let me hear you clap 2 times if you found yourself working hard, long hours, putting your head down, following the rule books, but not getting promoted. 2 times. Okay. Let me hear you clap 3 times if you worked your butt off only to receive a 2% pay increase during annual performance. We've all been there. And that's exactly why I wrote Promote Your Damn Self. Because we've been playing by the wrong rule book. The rule book that tells us to show up, to put our heads down, to work hard, to work the long hours and get half of what we deserve. And what I wanted to reveal from my experience is that there is a rule book that the top 6% of high-performing professionals use that many of us don't even know about. And I talk passionately about personal branding, not because I am the expert of it, it's because I discovered it along my journey. And my personal branding journey actually started about 14 years ago, if I'm being honest. I was one of those individuals who was the most educated, the hardest working. I came in early, stayed late. I see you shaking your head because you've been there, right? And I remember sitting at my computer one day and I received an email at work, and I was in an office environment, and that email said, your services are no longer needed. An email. They couldn't even come to tell me to my face. My body froze. And in that moment, I didn't know what to say and what to think. The room went quiet, and I stood up from my desk and I walked across this sea of contact center, you know, the beige walls in the contact centers. And I went to the closest bathroom. And in that bathroom, I'll tell you, it wasn't the freshest. It was tissue everywhere, it reeked. But what that bathroom provided was silence. No one was in that bathroom. And I went into the bathroom and I went into the stall and I closed the door and I bawled. I cried like a little baby. And what that did for me, it was rather cathartic, but in that moment I decided that I would never put myself in a precarious spot where someone else owned my destiny, where someone else could dictate where my future was. And also, I decided in that bathroom that I would not be the hardest working invisible person in my career anymore. Come on, amen, somebody. I heard you. And in that regard, from that moment, I decided to build a personal brand. I didn't know that's what it was called at that moment. But I decided to network feverishly, not just exchanging cards, but letting people know the value that I brought to the organization and the values that I can bring to them. I networked inside, outside of my organization. I made sure that people understood that I was the one that contributed to the project that saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. And from there, I went from an entry-level position to an executive position in 4 years using the strategies that I reveal in my book. And it's not because I'm the smartest person. It's not because I'm the hardest working, because I'm a millennial and I don't mind the easy way. But it was because I decided to choose me. I decided to ensure that the people who had the power, authority, and privilege to promote me and advance my career knew my name. And along that journey, I wasn't selfish because there were many other women and people of color who shared the exact same story that I had in that moment when I thought I was by myself. So it's pulling people along on that journey, telling them the blueprint and revealing the secrets of success. And as we talk about promote your damn self, that's what I had to tell myself. That was my affirmation. Promote your damn self, Shantel. Don't wait for anyone else to promote you. So in my book, I reveal the exact secrets and templates of how to have the conversations with your managers, how to negotiate pay, how to create a career mapping strategy. I also teach strategies on how to build your social wealth inside and outside of your organization, leveraging platforms like LinkedIn. And in addition to that, I speak about one of the most important factors of a personal brand, which is your mental wealth. The biggest thing that stands in our way of our success are the thoughts that play in our head. So I make sure that I created a book like that because it was a book that I did not see, I could not find, so why not write that book? And for the audience, do you believe that a book like that would be helpful to you? Yes, hands in the back. I actually brought a copy of that book. Does anyone want a copy of it? So no one's gonna take action. Okay. There you go. The reason why I say that is because you can go to CC Women and listen to every single thing that these people sit on the stage to tell you, but if you don't take action, nothing will change. And the reason why I share these strategy tips with members of my team is because I know what it feels like to be in a contact center space, busting your ass, and no one giving you the credit that you deserve. These little known, not really talked about strategies have revealed in the data. When I look at the data of my 300-seat organization globally, I have retention rates of 92% over the course of 5 years. That's unheard of contact center space. My promotion rate within the organization is 41%. Employee engagement, we are ranked in the top 5% based off Gallup's most engaged teams around the world. And it's not me gatekeeping the strategies, it's me empowering my organization to leverage their voice, and as a consequence, our organization is better off for it.
That's fantastic, Shantel. So let's get a little bit more deep into the framework that you used and that you discussed in your book. So that's the core piece of it. So how can this audience, first of all, you can take action. You're taking action, that's the first thing to do. I'm taking action. Right? How can they use it to advocate for themselves and grow their roles, careers, lives? And we talked about this. Like, you need to have a life outside of what you're doing. That's the first rule number one, right? Have a life. She was in the stall. That was like That dawned on you, right?
Yes.
You're not your job. We're all beautiful humans.
Right.
So tell me more about these frameworks and what they've been doing.
So I saw a stat recently that said 67% of customer service professionals feel invisible. And that made me pause. It made me pause on a couple of levels, like what? And I went to, y'all gonna see me dancing up here. Yes, right here. Okay. So I went back to my why, and you all may see me here. I know Jen read my bio, but I want to call a couple of things out that's critical. I am Las Vegas 40 under 40, NBC featured speaker, author, vice president of global customer success with Pearson. This is not to toot my own horn, but inside of Shantel is a little girl who is very insecure to this day because someone told me that I could not. Someone stood in my way. Someone clipped my wings. And I'm still finding myself with all of the success flying with one wing in some regards. And I'm telling the truth here because it's important to know that. You can look at my LinkedIn and glorify the title, but I think it's important to tell the truth. So to get to that point of really leaning into the core frameworks, the first framework in my book focuses on mental wealth. And I coined this term called lie-dentity. And I'm gonna repeat it again, lie-dentity. A lie-dentity is a false identity that we have taken on as a function of someone else's value or opinion of who we are. And it's important to understand that before you can even get into any personal branding framework, any leadership or executive conversations, any promotions, pay increase conversations, it's to really lean into your core value of who you are. Now, as I was fighting my identity, and I mean, I had them hands, I was swinging, I had to realize that the things that were standing in my way, those words like you are not enough, you are not smart enough, you are not ready enough, you are too black, you are a woman and you're in a male-dominated space, no one will respect your voice. I had to combat that, and I gave my inner saboteur name. Her name is Big Bertha. Sorry for any of the Berthas out there. But anytime she shows up, I pull out this framework that I typically use. And it's in my book. I call it the CEO framework because we are all CEOs of our lives, CEOs of our career. So the first thing that I always encourage my clients and when I'm in front of audiences, the first thing that I encourage you to do is to celebrate your damn accomplishments. First and foremost, write them down. Take a moment and think of the top 5 accomplishments. And I'm not talking about just what you did at work. The top 5 accomplishments. You may be a first generation in your family to do something. You may have overcome a challenge at work. You may have instituted a community initiative that's changing people's lives. Write those things down because when things get tough, you need to go back and celebrate your accomplishments and remind yourself of who you are. It's also important to embrace who you are, embrace your unique story, your authenticity. I started off with where I am because that's where you see me, but you don't know where I came from. I started from the bottom. I was born to a 15-year-old mom in Detroit, Michigan, and we lived below the poverty line. I didn't even know what poor was. We were so poor we could not afford the O and the R. We were poor, okay? There were moments in my life where I didn't know where the next meal was going to come from, and my goal was to honor my mom for having me. So everything that I'm doing right now is to give back to that person who did not have that mentor, that did not have that blueprint, that did not have that pathway. So honor and embrace your story, right? And then lastly, you want to make sure that you observe the opportunities. There are so many opportunities here, and I know there's someone listening to my voice out here and you're thinking to yourself, like, I can do that. Yes, you can. There is someone out here that says, I have a story that I want to share, but I'm afraid. Come up here and be afraid. I'm going to sweat a little bit because I get a little nervous, but that's a part of it, right? And it's important for you to understand that you are the CEO of your life. You are the CEO of your circumstances. And if you embrace that framework, and anytime your Big Bertha or whoever her name is shows up, you can go back to that as proof of who you are and remind yourself of who you are.
I'm going to share a little bit too here because I think it's really, the identity thing is really important. I'm too loud. I don't look like the traditional executive. I have an opinion. I'm surrounded by a bunch of men, and this is really difficult. You got to say things 5 times to speak up. I also have, like you, I come from a background. My mom is a lesbian. For many years, I didn't bring it to work with me. I couldn't talk about my family. It's not okay to not bring half of yourself to work. Like Shantel, I do a lot of what I do for the woman that raised me, very strong, and thinking about that. And I try to bring that into the teams that I lead as well. So I love having this conversation. I love the friendship that you and I have struck up. So important. We share things like that as well. So these are great points that you're making here, Shantel, and I think I'm emulating this because we all have stories and we all matter and we all need to be seen. And we can do that with one another, and we need to do that with our teams and each other. This is how we move things forward. Customer service professionals are also drowning in daily operations. You say LinkedIn leadership, thought leadership is like non-negotiable. So let's get into a little bit more about that. Break down why and how these ladies and gentlemen need to be prioritizing this as they move forward with this, with their careers.
Let me survey the room. How many of you post on LinkedIn at least once a week? Okay. That's about maybe 4 or 5% of this room. I'm about to flip everything on its head as it pertains to what you think about LinkedIn. When I say create a space for thought leadership and leverage LinkedIn, it's not necessarily for the space of self-promotion. I'm going to take it in 2 directions. When I think about LinkedIn is a space where most of you put your resume, right? And you use it when you get a promotion. You put a promotion, I got a promotion, hey, congratulations, everyone rallies around it, right? But what you don't know, this little known, not really talked about strategy and secret about LinkedIn, it is actually a place that will catapult your career. There are well over 1 billion users. That's a B, like beautiful, bodacious, B. 1 billion users on LinkedIn. And what I love about LinkedIn is that when you think about this conference in general, the customer service, customer experience space is shifting underneath our feet. When you think about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, it was like, maybe we should talk about AI. Now they're shoving it down our throat. I can't go anywhere. I can't even go to the bathroom without somebody trying to speak to me about AI, right? And when you think about that, we can't refute or deny the fact that AI will take some jobs. And I'm not trying to make a somber moment, but I am still betting on human intelligence. And when I say leverage spaces like LinkedIn to use your thought leadership, be a part of the evolution. Be a part of the conversation. I'm not saying you need to be a content creator posting every single day, but share your thought leadership and what that looks like. Every single person in this room has expertise in the space that's considered their zone of genius. Share about how you overcame a challenge. Share about where you think the future of contact centers is going. Share what you believe we should be investing in. And I've been having these conversations and actually contributing to the outcomes in the customer service space. The other reason why I say you want to spend time on LinkedIn is because it's actually your career insurance. The thing about this current job market is there aren't a lot of people hiring. I see you in the blue. There are not a lot of people hiring. However, those individuals that have a presence, a personal brand on LinkedIn are attracting opportunities. When I speak at women's conferences and women's forums and we do workshops on LinkedIn, the first thing that we go over, we look at their profile, we do a profile evaluation, and we create a schedule that works for them. That schedule may be once a week where they're posting something that's of thought leadership. Without them even trying, they're getting opportunities that are coming to them to speak, to be on podcasts, to be on advisory boards, to create courses, to get job promotions that are 2-3 levels ahead of where they currently are, because they are positioning themselves as an authority and they're quiet in their Big Bertha while they're doing it. So when I say this, and I understand, I know we're not doctors, but contact center professionals work hard. On average, I know we work 58 hours on average a week. You can take 10-15 minutes to build your career insurance, to contribute to the future of what contact centers look like, versus it just sweeping you away and you being a part of it.
Agreed. It definitely needs to happen. So following on from this, the concept of brand equity. You know, companies are creating brand equity. Let's talk a little bit about individuals and how we pioneer that. You talked a little bit more about like LinkedIn and other places and those speaking opportunities and being proactive with that. So, you know, how do you help them do that? How are you guys measuring success? What does that start to look like?
Yeah, I want to take a reframe here, because this whole piece of that question is going to be about the reframe. I'm going to ask the audience 2 questions. The first question that I'm going to ask is, raise your hand if you currently have a salary that's $40,000 or more. Okay. All right. Now raise your hand if you personally, in your personal life, not at work, in your personal life, if you've negotiated a contract that's $40,000 or more. Okay. So let me give you some perspective. Just about every single hand went up the first question that I asked, and maybe 3 or 4, 5 people raised their hand on the second question. I think it's important to think about the reframe. Anytime you are in an interview environment and someone's asking you to share your expertise, in exchange for a job opportunity is a contract. You're entering into a contract every time you accept a job. So each and every, I see you, thank you, amen, you're giving me what I need. Each and every time you have accepted a job that is attached to a salary, you are negotiating a contract. And the reason why I present it this way is it's important to reframe as you start to think about what you've asked for. You've already asked for $40,000. You can ask for $4,000, $500, $10,000. So I really want to make sure that I put that into perspective, because as we think about building a personal brand, it all starts with the reframe. And what I want to do, I want to open up to a page real quick, because I want to make sure that you all are getting the value that you all deserve. As I'm thinking about the reframe, first and foremost, it's important to redefine the problems. So sometimes when we think about customer service, we think of ourselves as a problem solver versus an individual that showcases solutions. I saw you nodded hard. It's a different perspective when it rolls off your tongue. The other point, when I think about just organizations as a whole, you want to create monthly spotlight opportunities. Monthly spotlight opportunities to showcase individual skills, projects, initiatives that they're a part of. And as these individuals are being spotlit, I don't know which one it is, you want to make sure you take those opportunities to document the quantifiable actions that are attached to it. How much money you save, how much time you save, how much costs have been reduced, right? I'm going to come back to that, I promise. And then the third one is for leaders in the room. If you hear me, a leader, the leaders in the room, I want to make sure you hear me, is to establish a clear, I want to repeat, clear pathway for opportunities. Most organizations say, we have opportunities. Where they at? How you get them?
Good luck finding them.
Yeah. How do you get them? Create a clear pathway for opportunities. And going back to that second point, the reason why I said create monthly spotlights, the individuals who are documenting those monthly spotlights, you can use those in annual reviews, quarterly reviews, negotiation conversations, and so much more. So I would say, again, just to recap, redefine, so become a solutions showcaser, create monthly spotlight opportunities, and if you're on the receiving end, document those opportunities, and then for organizations to establish a clear pathway to those opportunities and give your team the blueprint in regards to how to get to that next phase.
And it can be dollars, it can be extra days off, it can be other benefits. Don't rule things out. And if you never ask, you never know. So challenge yourselves the next time you're in this space to do that for yourself. And as leaders, make sure you're helping the people that are working with you to do the same. This is very important. I totally echo that. I've had lots of conversations that I say to people, if you don't ask, you don't know. You never know what you're going to get. What's the worst thing that could happen? I said this to my son last week. What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no. No. You never know. You don't ask. So, thank you, Shantel. We're at 12:25, so I think we want to make time for questions. So I have one last question for you. So what's the one thing you'd say to someone trying to step into more confidence and leadership in their CX career, but not sure how to begin to show up differently? What would you say?
I love this question on so many levels because I can talk about this for hours. So I do want to make sure I give you all a framework to take away from this question, but I want to start here. Most people believe that confidence comes from believing, right? Wrong. Confidence comes from doing, right.
And doing, yes,
right?
yes.
You can believe, but belief has to be attached to actually doing the things that kind of scare the crap out of you, right?
Oh my gosh.
And yes. So what I typically do is recommend bite-sized opportunities to gain confidence. And those bite-sized opportunities can look like if you are in an organization that has, let's say hypothetically, an employee resource group. Yes. Taking those opportunities to vocalize your value, taking those opportunities to assert your worth, take your opportunities to develop a certain skill set. I also highly recommend when you come to conferences like this, please don't just exchange LinkedIn's, please don't just exchange business cards. Genuinely connect, and what that looks like is, thank you for shaking your heads, genuinely connect and have conversations. I know some people have 15-minute coffee or tea chats, but come into the conversation with an intention. So if you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for a sponsor, if you're looking for a peer advisor, lean into those conversations and make sure that they have an understanding of what direction that conversation is going and how to support and how to promote you and how to help you in that regard. But you need those bite-sized opportunities for confidence. I want to read one quick portion of this framework so that I can make sure that
I'm pretty sure nobody is leaving.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure. Y'all may have somewhere to be. But as I think about confidence as well, it's important to think about it from the perspective of confidence where you work. And to audit your confidence and to audit how to grow your confidence, I have this framework called the 3R framework. And y'all want to write this down if y'all don't have a pen. So I see people pulling out. Give you a moment. So the first R is reach. So you want to think of it from the perspective of who knows your name that has power, authority, and influence to promote you. And this doesn't have to be your immediate manager, and that's when many people mess up. They stay with their immediate teams and their immediate manager, and they say, I've worked hard, my manager has promised that he'll promote me, then he goes off to get another job, and then you get another manager, and you gotta start all over, right? So reach, not necessarily within your immediate department, but across the organization, and reach here. Who has the power, authority to promote and advance your career? The second one is reputation. What are you known for? Are you known for solving problems? Are you known for turning complex data into amazing stories? Are you known for turning that angry customer into a smiling customer that's sending you Christmas cards at the end of the year? Right? That's value, right? And then the other one is request rate. And what I mean by this is how often are people requesting you by name for projects, for initiatives, for tasks? And you can audit this over time. So when you go back and you check your notes, write a list of how many people know you by your name that has power and authority to promote you. Write down what are you known for, and then ask someone who has the power and authority that you know, what do they believe your strengths are, and what do they believe you're known for, so that you can test if you're accurate. And then your request rate. Think about the last 2 years. How many times has someone come to me for a request? And I mean, this can be if you're in the office, if you're the go-to person when the printer breaks, that counts.
Yes.
Okay. So you want to make sure that you write those things down, because it all adds up when it comes time to negotiate, when it's time to advance your career, when it's time to find other opportunities. You're not spending time trying to figure out who are the key players that can advance and grow your career.
Yeah, I want to recommend that you do this like on a quarterly basis. Okay, getting to the end of the year and then having to go back and figure this all out, like, or just a notebook on the side where you jot these things down, whatever works for you. There's some, you can do it in your phone, but make sure you're doing that, because you have, the other thing is going back to like believing in action. It's you're when you write or you're typing or you're thinking about it, you're reminding yourself that you're doing it every day, and that's really important. So I want to thank Shantel. Shantel, do you have some closing words? And then I think we might have time for questions. I don't know where Sandy is, so I'm not sure where I am on time. But
Well, if
take
we have
questions.
we're going to let Sandy kick us out.
Yeah.
We'll take questions. If we have any questions, we'll start there.
All right. Anybody got any questions for Shantel? I'm going to play Oprah.
Come on, Oprah.
I need cars.
Hi, my name is Tasia Holloway. I'm a senior manager at Skims. And my question is about your journey when you had to kind of shift your mindset to take a more personal branding approach. What tools and resources did you find helpful? Because I can imagine that it wasn't just like an overnight or just you shifting it without some type of support.
Yes, and thank you for that question, Tasia. I will have to say that it was not an overnight situation, and I will admittedly say that I've rebranded more than I can admit. I am the queen of the rebrand. So like when I think back to my first rebrand, honestly, I borrowed the confidence of the white mediocre males in my organization. And I tested a couple of things out. Like there were moments where I was in meetings and they were spewing out and throwing out numbers without any theory or logic. And of course I couldn't do that. So I said, let me just throw out this idea and see if anyone does it. So I did test that out. And then also I borrowed the confidence of the amazing women that have been trailblazing. And then I sought out mentors and sponsors. And I'm going to explain the difference. A mentor can give you advice on the things that you can do to help grow your career. However, a sponsor does all of that, but they also say your names in rooms that you have yet to be invited into. So I made sure that I found both mentors and sponsors that didn't necessarily look like me, speak like me, or have the skills that I currently had, but they had a combination and a permutation of the things that I aspired to be like. So that journey looked like that, plus journaling and praying and screaming at God, all of that. Crying was involved too. But I did put some strategy in there as well. Good question.
And people actually help.
Yes, they do.
Like,
They want to help.
Sometimes you don't always want to ask because you're kind of like, oh my God, that person's like, big and important. No, they're human, just like you. They had to get from point A to B. We come in and go out the same way.
Right.
Who's got another question?
Hi, Shantel. Thank you so very much. You're very encouraging and inspiring. My name's Yvonne Moyer, and I am the contact center manager for Carrington International. We were one of the 7 finalists last year.
Yes.
Great about that. So congratulations again on your accomplishments. Where can we get a signed copy of your book? I couldn't remember.
The Five9 Pavilion. It's across the way over there, 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Who's got a question?
Hi, I'm Zara. I'm the VP of Digital Product and Member Services at Scene Plus, the loyalty program in Canada. I love what you said about promoting yourself and using LinkedIn as a tool to amplify your voice. I don't know where these people are finding time. I feel like whenever I'm posting something on such a public forum, I need to have something very insightful and like super compelling with a unique angle, and I don't want to talk about my whatever children or pets. Like how do you find the nuggets on a weekly basis that amplify your brand instead of bringing you down as the mediocre middle?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and I hear you saying the conflict of time, the conflict of being like the person who's the standout person. And I will say, starting off at the beginning, it was hard, and I'm not gonna pull the wool over your eyes. I didn't know where to start or how to approach it. It was hard. It will take time, but it's also hard to watch someone who is less qualified than you get amplified and get opportunities that you know you deserve. So I would first start off by saying choose your heart, to identify if it's worth your time. The second thing that I will say is, in my book, if you get it, there is a framework that's called the LEAD framework, and it shows you exactly how to post. And again, like I said, I'm a millennial. I like the easy button. I use ChatGPT. I use Claude AI. So I get my thoughts out using the LEAD framework, where you lead with a hook, because that's our attention span is 7 seconds, which is 1 second faster than a goldfish. That's a fact. So you have to lead with a hook, and then you go into your storytelling, and then you go into teaching something, and then you go into whatever your CTA is. Your call to action. Sorry, I shouldn't have used that. Your call to action, what you want them to do. So if you use a framework, instead of just trying to think of like, how do I create this epiphany and this amazing thing out of the blue, use the framework. It makes it easy for you. Use your tools, use AI, because most people are, but add your authentic voice. You don't have to be the most brilliant. I talk about one thing only, and it works.
Other questions?
Hi, my name is Robbie, Director of Customer Care for Down. As a male people manager, what advice do you have for me to help support my mostly female team to grow in their role and promote themselves better to better set them up for success?
First and foremost, thank you. Thank you. I am one of those individuals. I've only worked for white men in my career. I've never had a woman. I've never had a person of color as my leader. And the advice that I've given is allow us space to be. Allow us space to be who we are. Women are multifaceted. We are taking on a lot. And give us permission by leading by example. Because there will be times where women may be parents or caregivers, and you know, you have a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you driving to the drive line with rollers in your hair and a robe on, and you're trying to put your makeup on 5 minutes. Come on, somebody, give us grace, right? By leading with permission. Also, amplify their voice. So if they're doing something amazing that has transformed or contributed to the organization of the bottom line, give them a platform where their voice is heard beyond just a team meeting. And then I would say the last thing that I would say for women specifically is put them in rooms that are mostly male dominated and give them space and permission to speak. And when you know that they're nervous to speak, say, I know you just called on me, but I want to hear such and such's thoughts. And give them that permission to elevate and use their voice, and it becomes habitual. I have a whole laundry list, but we don't have much time. But thank you for that.
All right, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Shantel for your amazing interview. You can find Shantel at our booth at 1 o'clock today, Five9, and we're on the other side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.